Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week we're going to be talking about snowblower maintenance, and we'd like to thank Roy Berry for liking and sharing the podcast. And our 13th ebook is at the format editor now, and we should be releasing it soon on Amazon.
Yippee.
One of the first walk-behind snowblowers for homeowners was released by Toro in 1952. Mm-hmm. The Aaron's Company came out with one of their first home snowblowers in 1960. And that's not that long ago. The Cleveland Clinic says there are thousands of snowblower injuries every year, from cuts all the way up to full amputations. An auger can catch clothing, hair, shoelaces, or scarves, and you never want to put your hand into the chute or the housing opening. You want to use a stick or a chute cleaning tool if you get a jam, and never try to unclog a snowblower when it's on, even if you're using a stick or one of these cleaning tools. And you should be wearing safety glasses and hearing protection if you have a loud snowblower.
Have you ever seen anybody wear any of that?
No.
But all our listeners will now?
They should be. When I was doing some research for clothes dryer maintenance, I found some good tips from the Sears Home Services blog, and they had a link to snowblower maintenance tips. Their 8 tips to maintain your snowblower are: change the spark plug, inspect the belts, check the auger paddles, check the shave plate, check the skid shoes, check the shear pins, change the oil, and use fresh gas with a stabilizer added to it. Which are all good tips, but depending on the type of snowblower you have, some of these tips don't apply, or there's a lot of other things you should be doing, depending on the unit you have.
Are people supposed to know what those words mean, by the way?
Where you should be checking to see if you have any of those things is in your manual for the unit. Mm-hmm. It's going to give you an overview of what should be done to maintain your snowblower and what's covered by the warranty. One of the manuals I read said if you don't use genuine service parts, it may void the warranty, and use of gasoline blends exceeding 10% ethanol will void any and all warranties.
Really?
Yeah, amazing. Another warranty I read said you must maintain your product by following the maintenance procedures described in the operator's manual. Failure to perform required maintenance and adjustments can be grounds for disallowing a claim. Your maintenance is going to vary depending on whether you have a single-stage thrower, a 2- or 3-stage blower. With gas, you could have an older unit that's 2-cycle compared to a 4-cycle unit, and a gas unit is going to be different than electric. Single-stage throwers usually have rubber paddles that grab the snow and throw it out of the chute in one motion. Those paddles are making contact with the surface, and it's helping pull the unit forward. And this is going to wear down the rubber, so the paddles will need to be replaced over time. Some electric models will have plastic paddles that are slightly higher than the surface you're removing snow from. 2-stage blowers have a metal auger that's cutting through heavy snow. It lifts it up to an impeller, and it's thrown out of the chute. A 3-stage unit has an accelerator, so this is another type of auger that's sitting between 2 augers. It helps break up the snow better, and it drives it up to the impeller so it can be thrown out of the chute faster. 2- and 3-stage blowers are going to have more parts to maintain. Many of the older snow blowers have 2-stroke engines called 2-cycle engines. You're going to mix 2-cycle oil with the gas in your gas can, and you shake that up and you pour that into your gas tank. There's not a separate area for oil.
Do they even make 2-cycle anymore?
I think almost all companies have phased out 2-cycle engines because of environmental restrictions. The fumes don't pass the new EPA regulations. 4-stroke or 4-cycle engines have a separate area to add oil to the engine, and then the gas has its own area where you add the gas, so it's separate.
Right.
Four-cycle engines are more environmentally friendly, they're quieter, and they have better fuel efficiency.
So my dad always had 2 gas cans.
Okay.
One had 2-cycle oil in it.
Okay.
And the other one was for, the lawnmower.
Sure, so it's just straight gas.
Right. But I never understood why we had 2 gas cans. And so one was metal and one was plastic. So he'd be, go get me the metal gas can.
So that's how he identified
Yes.
it? He didn't use a marker
No.
and put 2-cycle oil?
No, it was the metal one and the plastic.
All right, well, you got a system. In hardware stores and home centers, you may see a snowblower maintenance kit. A kit I saw from Toro has 5W30 oil, a spark plug, and fuel stabilizer. And you're going to have different kits depending on the model blower you have. Mm-hmm. The spark plug is going to vary, and the amount of oil will be different depending on your model. A snowblower maintenance kit I saw from Aaron's has 5W30 oil.
Hey, have you spelled it all in this episode?
Aaron's, Ariens.
Well, what about Toro?
Toro.
Thank you.
So the Aaron's kit has 5W30 oil, shear bolts, gas stabilizer, and a non-stick spray for the chute. But you need to do more than what's in these kits to maintain your snowblower. So we would sell this when we had hardware stores. We would sell these kits to our customers. Mm-hmm. And, we kind of sold it as a yearly tune-up. But you should be doing more than this to really maintain your snowblower. And all the kits I looked at had 5W30 oil. Mm-hmm. That W stands for winter oil. An article I read from Briggs & Stratton said synthetic SAE 5W30 oil will give small engines the best protection at all temperatures, as well as improve starting and less oil consumption. But you should check the manual for your model. Briggs & Stratton said SAE 30 works from 40 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's a good lawnmower oil.
What is SAE?
SAE is the Society of Automotive Engineers.
Did you spell Briggs & Stratton?
Briggs, Briggs, Stratton is Stratton, and they were founded in 1908.
Cool.
So they've been around for a while. 10W30 works from 0 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. 5W30 works from -20 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and synthetic 5W30 works from -20 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Cool.
Look at your manual for the recommended frequency to change the oil. A Toro manual for one model said change the oil after 2 hours of use with a new snowblower, then change the oil every season to protect the engine. A Briggs & Stratton manual I looked at said change the oil after 5 hours of use with a new snowblower, then once every 50 hours of use or yearly. They say old, dirty oil will not protect your engine properly.
Are you supposed to keep a log on how long you use the snowblower?
Yes. And also check the oil level before each use. Check your manual on how to check the dipstick. With many models, you're going to unscrew the cap and remove the dipstick connected to the cap, wipe it off, then push it back into the opening. You're not going to screw it down. You're just going to push it down till it makes contact and then lift it out to check the oil. Mm-hmm. But check your manual. On some older units, they may not have a dipstick. You're going to have to use a flashlight and then fill it up to the threads, up to the cap.
Tricky.
But yeah, check your manual. And check the amount of oil required for your unit if you're changing the oil every year. You should be routinely changing the spark plug. A few manuals I looked at recommended replacing the spark plug every 100 hours of use. Aaron says replace every 100 hours or once per season. Briggs & Stratton says change every 100 hours of use. So you got to keep another journal. Make sure to check the type of spark plug and match it to what your engine needs. And this is a great spare part to have because spark plugs can get wet or dirty. And if you don't replace them routinely, it's one of the common reasons a snowblower is hard to start.
Right, because that's what you really want to do during a snowstorm is go out to the store.
Yeah, or it's late and the store's closed. Because if you don't have a good spark plug, you're not going to get that good spark to ignite the gas. Mm-hmm. And the gas is another reason your snowblower is hard to start. Some manufacturers like Cub Cadet, it's CUB, capital CADET, They recommend draining the gas tank and replacing the fuel each season. If you have fuel with ethanol, it can start to go bad as quickly as 30 days. As the gas degrades and evaporates, it creates sticky residue called varnish and gum.
My grandfather always used to run either the snowblower or the lawnmower dry.
Right.
We'd sit on the picnic bench and watch it.
Right.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
My dad never did. He never drained the gas tank for like the snowblower, but he kept it in the garage.
Okay.
So as he got older, he did less maintenance on all of our equipment.
Right.
So he was convinced that the garage was too cold, so he'd bring the snowblower into the utility room and start it in
kidding.
there.
Oh, terrible.
I mean, what a crazy person.
Yeah,
And
never start. Well, don't even start in your garage.
Right, yeah.
I mean, it creates too much carbon monoxide, which
know.
is odorless, tasteless, and deadly.
Yep. I was like, what are you doing, dude? Put a fuel stabilizer in it and you have no problems.
Right, there you go. If you do have old gas in your snow blower and it won't start and you didn't use a fuel stabilizer in the gas, you can siphon out the gas from the tank, put it into a gas can, and you can take it to a place where they recycle it. You can go to earth911.com, so it's EARTH, the numbers 911.com. On this website, click on the tab that says where to recycle. In the search bar, you're going to put in gasoline and then your zip code, and it'll give you a disposal facility where you can take old gas.
Cool.
If you just have a small amount of old gas in your unit and you didn't have a stabilizer in it and it won't start, you can sometimes add new fuel to it and it'll give it enough octane to get it started. Or you can add an octane booster to the tank. STP, just the letters STP, they make an octane booster. Gold Eagle, it's Gold, capital EAGLE, and Lucas, LUCAS, they all have top-rated octane boosters. You add gas, you pour this in, and then you keep either using your electric start or your pull start until it feeds through, and then hopefully that'll get it started for you. And then use a stabilizer.
Right.
Toro and Briggs & Stratton recommend only using unleaded gas with an octane of 87 or higher. The higher the octane, the better your performance is going to be. Do not use gasoline with more than 10% ethanol. It can cause engine damage and it can void your warranty. Many manufacturers are now recommending adding a fuel stabilizer to your gas can every time you fill up to maintain freshness during the season and for off-season storage. Briggs & Stratton recommends using Stable Storage Fuel Stabilizer. Stable says their storage...
You're not going to spell that?
Stable?
Yes.
STABIL. So Stable says their storage stabilizer can keep fuel fresh for up to 24 months in all gas, including ethanol and non-ethanol gas and all gas engines, 2-cycle and 4-cycle engines.
Cool.
Some manufacturers recommend if your snowblower has a fuel shutoff, when you're done removing snow, turn the fuel off and let the engine run out of gas. Then when you're ready to use it again, the spark plug and the carburetor will be dry and ready for a good spark and ignition. AMSOIL, it's AMSOIL, they're a company that makes a fuel stabilizer. They say shutting off the fuel line and running the carburetor dry exposes the metal surfaces to air, causing oxidation and varnish. They recommend treat your fuel with a stabilizer and keep the snowblower gas tank 90% full. Just turn off the engine for storage. The treated fuel will provide better protection for the parts, keep the components clean, and keep parts lubricated.
Okay.
We always carried AMSOIL, Stable, and Seafoam gas stabilizers at our hardware stores. When I bought my first hardware store, the owner was a small engines repairman, and he added Seafoam to every lawnmower or snowblower that he tuned up for customers. And Seafoam is SEA, capital FOAM. It's a fuel additive that stabilizes fuel for up to 2 years. It dissolves residue and deposits, and it helps control moisture in the fuel. Because ethanol in gas will blend with water, it can separate, causing a lean burn, and that can damage your engine and make it hard to start.
Mm-hmm.
So products like Seafoam and AMSOIL has something called Quick Shot. It blends with the ethanol and helps prevent it from separating.
Cool.
Seafoam has been around since 1942. The inventor wanted a fuel additive that would stop fuel from going bad and help the engine in his boat run better. Another thing that can make your engine run poorly or cause it to stall is a clogged air vent on your gas cap. If the vent hole gets clogged, the fuel can't flow properly. So keep your fuel cap clean.
Oh, no.
If you have a single-stage snowblower with rubber paddles, check your manual on when they should be replaced. Toro paddles, for example, have a hole in the paddle. When they're worn down to the hole, that's when they should be replaced for the best performance.
Interesting.
Some models will have a line or a wear mark, so you know when to replace the paddles. Or if the paddles aren't helping you pull the unit forward, because they should be making contact with the surface, it's time to change it for the best performance.
Okay.
Check the scraper bar, or it's called a shave plate on some units. This is the plastic or the metal bar on the bottom of the housing on the front of the unit. This is helping scoop snow up into the blower, and it helps protect the housing. On 2- and 3-stage units, check the skid shoes. These are metal pieces that set the height of the bottom of the housing. It keeps the augers just off the surface, and it's going to help protect your augers and the surface that you're removing snow from.
Cool.
For most 2- and 3-stage snowblowers, you're going to have shear pins or shear bolts on the augers to protect the gearbox. If the auger hits a hard object like a stick or a frozen newspaper or a chunk of... Are there newspapers anymore?
Yes.
Okay. So if it hits one of those, the bolt will break and it protects the gears. And this is another good thing to have spares of. You can have 2 or 4 or more bolts, and make sure you have the exact replacement parts. You need the correct size and torque for your unit. Some of the new snowblowers, though, don't have shear bolts, so check your manual.
You should almost keep like a box of just replacement parts for your snowblower.
Yeah. A good routine, if you have shear bolts, is to pull them out yearly and lubricate them. That way they don't get fused in place. Silicone is a good lubricant. With 2- and 3-stage blowers, you should have grease fittings that need grease pumped into them, and this is going to prevent the auger from fusing to the shaft. You'll need a grease gun. Check your manual for all the recommended lubrication spots and the type of lubrication recommended, and not only for the auger, but for the gears and chains and other parts. Lubricate the wheels and the axles. If you need to inflate a tire or remove it to work on your tire, you don't want it corroded to the axle.
Right.
Check your tire pressure before you use your snowblower if you have pneumatic tires, and these are low-pressure tires, usually 8 to 10 pounds of pressure. And Aaron's manual I read said apply grease to the hex shaft so the friction disc can slide easily. Apply grease to the gears. Apply a thin layer of oil to the chain and wipe it clean, and pump grease into the pinion shaft. So there's a lot of stuff that you're missing if you don't read your manual.
Right.
You should be checking the bolts and the chains. With a single-stage blower, have a backup V-belt. After a few years, they're going to need to be replaced. You should have a spare. This is a nice thing to have a spare of. And you need to know the size, the width, and the length. Check what belts or chains you need for a 2- or 3-stage blower. If you take a picture of where they go and how they're positioned, it'll help you replace them. With these larger units, there's a lot of parts. And some you have to remove a bunch of panels to get to some of the stuff. Check all the nuts, bolts, and screws throughout the season. Make sure everything's tight. Coat the auger or paddles and the chute with a non-stick spray. It's going to help prevent snow from sticking and help protect metal parts from corrosion.
Okay.
Don't fill a gas engine in your garage, and if you have any spills on the unit, make sure you wipe it up before you start it. Don't run your gas engine or don't start it in your garage. It gives off carbon monoxide. Briggs & Stratton says do not add fuel to a hot engine. It can cause a fire or an explosion. You should let it cool off a minimum of 2 minutes before you add new fuel. Disconnect the spark plug wire when you're doing any maintenance or repairs, and that'll help prevent the engine from accidentally starting.
Okay.
With electric snow throwers, the extension cord should be outdoor rated, grounded, and match or exceed the amp rating of your snow thrower. Mm-hmm. Undersized cords can shorten the life of the motor. The outlet should be a GFCI or protected by a GFCI.
Right. Do you have anything else to add?
Study your manual. It's going to give you a great routine to keep your snowblower in good shape and make sure you protect your warranty. And if you have a local hardware store, see if they do tune-ups or small engine repair, because it might be just easier to take it there.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, or your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 12, and soon book 13 on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter at FixItCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fix It Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.